Hey guys, Evie the Original Master here. So today I've decided that I will be reviewing the first SpongeBob movie, which is simply titled the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, which was released back in November of 2004. So I'm here to give you guys my in-depth review of this movie, pointing out everything that the movie offers and some quotes in the movie. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting. And later in December, I will be re-reviewing the Sponge Out of Water film, which is the second SpongeBob movie. And if you guys didn't recall from that review, I uploaded that video back in 2016. It was a two-parter video, and I really didn't like the way how I reviewed it because I was acting all crazy and I didn't take the review seriously. So since I am a bit more mature with my videos, I will try my hardest to retain myself from acting all crazy when reviewing this movie. So with that said, let's begin. So the movie begins out in the seven seas where we got the Paramount Pictures logo or words on the screen that says Paramount Pictures Presents, because this is a Paramount Pictures Nickelodeon Movies featured film where we see a group of pirates sailing the seven seas. So we got a pirate ship, we got all these pirates doing pirate shenanigans, which was pretty hilarious to see all these pirates doing all these crazy things. And the main pirate found a treasure chest which contained tickets to the SpongeBob movie. So basically, these pirates are actually going to watch the movie themselves. So it's basically a movie within a movie, which is pretty weird, but it kind of works in a way. So then the pirates began to sing the SpongeBob theme song, which I thought it was pretty cool because I do like the movie's variation of the SpongeBob theme song. It's actually really clever and it's really creative. So the pirates arrive at the theater where they hand the tickets to the movie theater cashier, where they get popcorn and starts pouring it all over each other. And so yeah, they sit down to the theater to watch the SpongeBob movie, basically. And so we then get a shot of Bikini Atolls where we got a glance at the French narrator. And then we go underneath to Bikini Bottom where we're at the Krusty Krab, where we've noticed that there's helicopters and police cars surrounding the restaurant. So Mr. Krabs explains to the cops that his fry cook will be arriving pretty soon, which we all know who is SpongeBob because he's the fry cook of the Krusty Krab. So SpongeBob arrives in a limousine. He's like wearing these cowboy boots. I have no clue why he was wearing that. He then comes out with freaking bubbles and crap. Again, that's just SpongeBob's character. It's actually a pretty weird introduction to his character in this film, but it was pretty worth it. So Mr. Krabs then tells SpongeBob that a customer ordered a Krabby Patty with cheese, and then when the customer took a bite of the Krabby Patty, there was no cheese in it. So freaking SpongeBob slaps Mr. Krabs in the face, which was pretty funny. And so SpongeBob then goes into the Krusty Krab to have a word with the customer. And so I'm gonna quote some of the high bits of this scene. So we got SpongeBob walking into the Krusty Krab. He says, I am the fry cook of this establishment. Everything's gonna be just fine. And so we got this guy named Phil. He says, I'm really scared here, man. And SpongeBob then tells, what's your name? Phil. Got a family, Phil? Come on, Phil, stay with me. Let's hear about that family. And so Phil says, I have a wife and two beautiful children. So that's basically what Phil tells to SpongeBob. And then he says, that's what it's all about. I want you to do me a favor, Phil. Say cheese. So then we got a slow motion shot of SpongeBob placing the cheese on the Krabby Patty, busts his way out of the restaurant with Phil in his arms for some reason. He says order up, and all of the customers of the Krusty Krab cheers and celebrate SpongeBob's heroic deeds. So they say three cheers for the new manager, and so they say hip hip hooray. But whenever they said hooray, it was actually SpongeBob's foghorn alarm clock. So yeah, so his alarm clock blast, and so it's actually SpongeBob becoming manager for the Krusty Krab 2. Again, I apologize for the weird dialogue for this review. I don't write scripts, and I'm actually unfamiliar with this movie, so I actually know the whole plot by heart. So SpongeBob then prepares himself to go to the Krusty Krab 2, where he then goes into Squidward's house, where he finds him taking a shower, which was pretty gay. I don't know why Steven Hillenburg and Phil and no Paul Tibbett. I said Phil Tibbett. I'm sorry. Paul Tibbett and Steven Hillenburg written this film, so I don't know why they decided to have SpongeBob and Squidward in the shower together. That was pretty gay. So then afterwards, we get a shot of the Chum Bucket where Plankton is in there, hearing about the Krusty Krab 2, and he wants to have total domination to rule the world. So then he goes into this file cabinet where he finds these folders from A to Y, and then Karen corrects him that there's actually 26 letters in the alphabet by saying Z, Z, and then Karen's like, Z, the letter after Y. So freaking Plankton over here talking about I went to college, and he doesn't know the letters of the alphabet. Like, he forgot Z. Like, boy, how you forgot Z? That's like the last letter of the alphabet. But anyways, he reads Plan Z, which is lemon scented, and so he then barges out of the Chum Bucket screaming, all hail Plankton, and then SpongeBob just crashes into him, and then he's saying, I'm ready, promotion, and then you hear Plankton screaming at the top of his lungs, and so SpongeBob finds Plankton on his shoe, pulls him out, and says, hey, Plankton, are you going to the grand opening ceremony? Plankton's like, no, I'm not going to the grand opening ceremony, I'm here to rule the world, and then SpongeBob's like, good luck with that. I'm like, okay, that was pretty awkward. And then we got a news broadcasting of Perch Perkins and Mr. Krabs. And Mr. Krabs tells Perch that the reason why he built the second Krusty Krab so he can earn money. So this is my biggest problem with the film, is that the Krusty Krab 2 has nothing to do with the plot whatsoever. I mean, it is part of the movie. That's part of the subplot. But the main plot is basically SpongeBob and Patrick getting King Neptune's crown, which I'll get into later. But so yeah. So then Mr. Krabs hails the ceremony where everybody's there. Mrs. Puff is there. Sandy is there. And guess what? Sandy and Mrs. Puff has nothing to do with this movie whatsoever. They're just there as for cameos. And I'm like, if it's called the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, then why isn't Sandy or Mrs. Puff in the movie that much? I mean, come on, Steven Hillenburg. This is the first SpongeBob movie and you tell me you can't throw in Sandy in the movie? Yeah, that's kind of disappointed. So we got Mrs. Puff over here saying, I paid $9 for this? Well, I paid 10. Sandy, you ain't got no money? Seriously, I bet Sandy probably stole the money from the bank. She probably deposit money from the bank because she knows she ain't got no money because she doesn't have a job. So I don't even know why she paid $10 for this bull crap. But yeah. So Mr. Krabs then announces that the new manager is Squidward. And so someone gets the misunderstanding. So he goes up to the podium, talks to everybody in Bikini Bottom. And then the reason why SpongeBob isn't actually the manager for the Krusty Krab 2 is because that Mr. Krabs thinks that SpongeBob is a kid. Then if you think he's a kid, then why did you hire him in the first place in the Krusty Krab and Help Wanted? I mean, that just doesn't make any sense that Mr. Krabs thinks that SpongeBob is a child, where clearly he's an adult. Like, he's a man-child, basically, because he's an adult that acts like a child. So yeah. Oh yeah, I almost forgot to mention the Patrick and SpongeBob singing the Goofy Goober song, Goofy Goober Ice Cream Party Boat. That garbage. And then we got Patrick's famous quote, "Oh, I love being purple." Yeah, I can't believe I forgot to mention that in the review, but I've already mentioned it, so don't be mad in the comments because I've mentioned Patrick and SpongeBob singing the Goofy Goober song, which we'll get into later in the film. So yeah, SpongeBob isn't manager of the Krusty Krab 2. He's upset, and so we freaking get Patrick over here parachuting through the crowd naked with a flag between his butt cheeks, and then he crashes through the sign, and yeah, so he ruins everything. Yeah, that was pretty weird. And so then afterwards, we then get a glance of Goofy Goober's Ice Cream Party Boat, which returned in Pat Nocchio from season 11, where everybody's having a good time. The Goofy Goober comes out singing the Goofy Goober song, I'm a Goofy Goober, yeah. You're a Goofy Goober, yeah. We're all Goofy Goobers, yeah. Goofy, 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 yeah. Yeah, that garbage. And then we get Spongebob at the Nut Bar. Yes, it's called the Nut Bar. This is a PG film. You got freaking nuts. Like, come on now. You don't know how inappropriate that sounds? The Nut Bar. But anyways, we got SpongeBob at the Nut Bar crying because he didn't get the job as the manager. And then Patrick comes out of nowhere. Hey, how's the Krusty Krab 2 manager? And then, yeah, so Patrick then orders SpongeBob a Goofy Goober sunrise to cheer him up. They eat the sundaes, they burp, and they say, hey, waiter, how about another round over here? So they get high off of Goofy Goober sunrise. They pass out on stage with Goofy Goober Peanut. Hey, these are my two best friends in the whole world, Patrick and this big peanut guy. So they freaking pass out on the stage, and you got the freaking Goofy Goober worker on the piano just playing away, which I thought was pretty hilarious. And so the next day arrives, and then SpongeBob is actually drunk. He's drunk off of the ice cream. He has like, I don't even know what that stuff is, like crust or mold all over his face. I don't know what that is. So he wakes up, and then the worker says, "Get up, pal. It's 8 in the morning." And so SpongeBob then has to go to work, and then that's when he realizes that Mr. Krabs didn't make him boss for the Krusty Krab 2. So then, afterwards, we then get a glance of King Neptune's castle, where Plankton was going to go there to steal his crown, where we are introduced to King Neptune and Mindy, who is his daughter. So King Neptune and Mindy are ruling Bikini Bottom, doing their royally deeds, basically. And so there's actually a reason why King Neptune wears his crown is because he's bald. And then King Neptune keeps making the point that he isn't bald. So Mindy gets a hair in a can and tries to spray hair on King Neptune, which ended up getting all over his eyes. So that's where Plankton steals the crown, and then King Neptune wants to grab his crown, which ended up to be a paper bag, and that's when he found out that his crown is missing, and then he goes into an all-caps rage. Then Plankton flies away with the crown, and that's where we get a glance back to the Krusty Krab, where SpongeBob comes in. So he yells at Mr. Krabs for not making him a manager, and this is actually one of the best moments in the movie where SpongeBob said, "I am 100% man, and this man has got to say something to you." Sticks his tongue out, does a raspberry thing, and that's where King Neptune arrives at the Krusty Krab, telling Mr. Krabs that he stole his crown. And there's actually a really funny moment where there was an answering machine right next to Mr. Krabs saying, "Hi, I am Mr. Krabs and I stole Neptune's crown." And we got Mr. Krabs bashing on the answering machine, destroying it. And that's where King Neptune was about to roast him. He was about to fire him with his trident. So King Neptune has his trident. He's about to burn Mr. Krabs. SpongeBob turns back to normal when he finds out that King Neptune was burning Mr. Krabs. And Mr. Krabs says, "I'm on fire. Me underwear." No, wait. First he says, "My pants are on fire. My underwear is on fire. I'm on fire." So he falls into a pool of water. And that's where SpongeBob and Patrick had the idea to get King Neptune's crown back. Now, before I move on, I'm going to mention this one funny moment with SpongeBob and King Neptune and the Krusty Krab, which we all know that was coming. Bald, and we got freaking Fred over here. My eyes! Yeah, that's all I have to say. Anyways, so SpongeBob and Patrick goes to Shell City on the paddy wagon, which is his only appearance in this movie. It only appeared in the movie. It didn't appear anywhere else in the show. I do hope they bring back the paddy wagon for a future episode, like in season 12 or something. But that would be a really cool callback if they brought back the paddy wagon. So SpongeBob and Patrick drives in the paddy wagon to Shell City, where Patrick then begins making jokes about it, saying, "Hey, I thought you don't have a license." You don't need a license to drive a sandwich. And we all remember that quote. We also got the pickle wheels, the French fry oil for the motor and whatnot. So SpongeBob and Patrick then drives out to the roads where they find these redneck hillbilly guys. They look like they're from Tennessee or Alabama or some garbage. Where it says, "Which will it be, fellas? Ketchup or mustard?" They slap their legs together. They start laughing like rednecks. Patrick's like, "Oh, they're laughing at us." They're not laughing at us. We're laughing with them. So basically, they tell SpongeBob and Patrick that the road to Shell City is really dangerous, and that's where SpongeBob and Patrick then pulls the prank on them. They got this air horn. They blow on the air horn and they start laughing back at the rednecks, and the rednecks are like, "Well, they're dead," and then they drive away basically because they're trying to go to Shell City. So then, as they were going to Shell City, we got moments with Plankton and Mr. Krabs, where Mr. Krabs is actually turning into frozen solid from King Neptune, basically, because he was planning to kill him. And that's where Plankton shows up when King Neptune freezes Mr. Krabs. So Then we got SpongeBob and Patrick going to Shell City in their paddy wagon, where Patrick was making jokes saying, "We're going on a baby hunt. We don't know how to weed them out." So yeah, they was making jokes like that. There was one moment where they were driving to Shell City. This one tough guy came out of nowhere saying, "Out of the car, fellas." So SpongeBob and Patrick got out of the paddy wagon. The thug jumps in the paddy wagon and drives away with their car. SpongeBob, Patrick, this is why you don't trust nobody out in those streets. They're so dumb. So they have to go find their car, the paddy wagon, and yeah, so they found the Tug Thug place where their car was at, and they were like, "Hey, look, Patrick, our car!" And they make these gay faces. We all know that scene. And so they're gonna try to find a way to go inside to get the key. So they find the car, but the key isn't there. So they were going to the Tug Thug to get the key. And there's like this one funny moment where Patrick said, "I know, we're sneaking there." And then minutes later, you hear a guy in the background, "What are you looking at?" And they start, you hear punch sounds in the background. I thought that was pretty funny. And so they barge into the Tug Thug. And then Patrick's like, "Can I have everybody's attention? Where's your bathroom at?" Right over there. And they got SpongeBob over here. Stupid contacts. I'm like, that is like a really funny scene of the movie. That was actually really funny, hilarious, and I just couldn't stop laughing at that. So SpongeBob then just goes into the bathroom and tells Patrick, "That was your former distractment? I have to use the bathroom." I'm like, okay. And so SpongeBob ends up finding the keys, and then he finds the soap dispenser of the bathroom, starts pushing on it like this, and then they start having a gaily bubble party in the bathroom. And that's where one of the members of the Tug Thug, I think he's the leader, I'm assuming, is saying, "Hey, who blew this bubble?" So yeah, and then they had this like this little motto saying, "All bubble blowing babies will be beaten senselessly in the bar," something like that. And he says, "Well, who blew it?" So SpongeBob and Patrick are in the bathroom popping all the bubbles. Oh my god, this dude threw a freaking chair in the. It's like, this dude just threw a chair. The tough guy just threw a chair, saying, "Shut up." He throws a chair, all ended up killing the dude. That's where we see SpongeBob and Patrick escaping from the bathroom, leaving the Tug Thug. But nope, not here. So the tough guy, the leader, was gonna prove them if they're babies, if they're baby enough. And so you got the DJ over here putting on a record, playing the Goofy Goober theme song. So if they were going to be man enough, they were not allowed to sing the song. So they were trying not to sing it, which was hilarious. Then we got these two-headed guys over here saying, "Goofy, Goofy, Goofy, Goober, yeah." And that was hilarious. Oh my god, that was actually a highlight of the movie. And then, so SpongeBob and Patrick managed to escape, and that's where they find the key, and they just drive off. They drive off so they could go to Shell City. And that's where they find Mindy. So basically, they find Mindy, and then they realize that that she was telling them that Bikini Bottom has gotten worse since Plankton has taken over. So Plankton actually puts chum bucket helmets over everybody because he was gonna have total domination. So Squidward finds out about this. Actually, he actually is on his little bicycle, which returned in many other episodes, such as it came from Goo Lagoon. It also appeared again in Patrick the Game, and those are just a few examples of episodes that Squidward's weird bicycle was in SpongeBob throughout the years. So yeah, Squidward actually knows about Plankton's plan, so he barges into the chum bucket, catches him, and that's where Plankton pulls out a remote, pushes the button, and all these bucket helmets drops on the customers, turning them into zombies. So yeah, that was basically what Plankton was trying to do. He was trying to have world domination. And so, SpongeBob and Patrick are out in the middle of the road. They still haven't found Shell City yet until they found an ice cream place where this old lady was giving them ice cream, and that's where it was the Cyclops. So it was basically the Cyclops and whatnot. And actually, Plankton actually hired somebody to stop them on their tracks, which is probably the best villain in the whole SpongeBob series, Dennis. Yes, Dennis is basically the villain of this movie, who is actually going to stop SpongeBob and Patrick from getting the crown into Shell City. So Dennis was following them throughout this movie, where he's like this tough biker guy with spiked boots, he has a bandana, he has like a little knife, He isn't playing around. He actually found those two rednecks that we saw earlier in the movie. He ripped their mouths out of their faces and drove away. Pretty tough guy, if you ask me. So yeah, SpongeBob and Patrick are being chased by the Cyclops weird lady who is giving them the ice cream. And yes, they were actually in deep danger. So afterwards, they fall into like a trench. They fall like into a deep trench where they notice that they can't get to Shell City because they're kids. And that's where Mindy comes along. And yes, I know I'm repeating stuff that I already said, but I just don't care. It's because that I am going to review this movie and get it out the way. So if I do repeat myself again, just deal with it, okay? I'm not going to go on Wikipedia or the ESB and look up the full chronological order of the events of this film, is because that I just don't have the time for that. So just deal with it. So yeah, anyways, yeah, Mindy tells them about Plankton taking over Bikini Bottom and turns them into men by slapping seaweed mustaches on them. And that's where they sing the Now That We're Men song, which you guys don't know is actually the lyric version of Fight, Fight, Fight A, which is the APM track of the SpongeBob series. So it's like da 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 that garbage. And so yeah, after the song, that's where Dennis finds them. So Dennis actually had some really good lines in this movie. I thought you had a piece of salad stuck to your face from lunchtime. And he says, they were fake? Of course they were fake. This is what a real mustache looks like. So in the SpongeBob universe, if you want to grow a mustache, just make a really grumpy face, just like grunt, and pff, there's your mustache. And so Dennis was about to crush them with his spiked boots. And that's where the real Cyclops comes out of nowhere, which is this giant, I don't know how to describe it. I don't know if it's a scuba diver or something. I'm gonna call it a scuba diver. I don't know I don't know what it's called, the guy with the giant helmet. And because I know it's not a scuba mask, because a scuba mask is like a little tube thing that's put in your mouth and bubbles come out of from the top. That's a scuba mask, but I don't know what that giant thing is. I'm still gonna call it a scuba diver thing because I don't know what it is. So yeah, that's where he comes out of nowhere. He then grabs SpongeBob and Patrick and takes him to Shell City. I don't know if he's supposed to be a good guy or a bad guy, but I don't know. But the visuals there was actually pretty good. That was actually some really good visuals in that scene where the weird scuba guy grabs SpongeBob and Patrick and takes them to Shell City. So they arrived in Shell City, basically, and SpongeBob and Patrick notice that Shell City is filled with all these other fishies, all these other sea crustaceans. To notice that Shell City is a gift shop, meaning that somebody goes underwater, grabs the sea creatures and a crustacean and makes knickknacks out of them. So that's what SpongeBob and Patrick realized the dangers of Shell City. So the scuba guy grabs them and puts them under a lamp, which then burns them because the lamp has so much radiation, it actually shrivels them up. So this is actually a really heartbreaking segment to see SpongeBob and Patrick slowly dying. And we then get a glance at the pirates who are watching the film crying. So then the sprinklers of the Shell City gift shop turns on and sprays on SpongeBob and Patrick, and they're alive. They turn back to normal. And since the sprinkler turns them back to normal, all of the knickknacks in the Shell City gift shop comes to life. And one of them are like a mariachi band playing the Mexican hat dance, while the other sea crustaceans beats the crap out of the scuba guy. So SpongeBob and Patrick actually leaves out of Shell City gift shop, which they have a bag of wins, which was given to Mindy. So SpongeBob then reads the directions of how to operate the bag of wins, and because of Patrick's stupidity, he does everything that SpongeBob tells him to. Patrick, he was reading the directions. That doesn't mean you do it right away. He was reading the directions to make sure if it will work right. You see, this is exactly why this movie needed more characters like Sandy or Squidward or somebody. But seriously, this is the first SpongeBob movie, and already the character selections weren't that great. But yeah, so the bag of wins goes away because of Patrick's dumbness. And so SpongeBob and Patrick has no clue how to get back to Bikini Bottom. And then out of nowhere, through the sandy beaches of California or whatever state this was filmed at, was David Hasselhoff with his little surfboard running down through the sandy beaches, and yeah, that was actually pretty good. That was actually really good cinematography right there. And so David Hasselhoff was actually going to take SpongeBob and Patrick back to Bikini Bottom. That's right. And yeah, so then we go back to Bikini Bottom actually, where the zombies were about to attack Mr. Krabs and the others and Mindy and whatnot. And now we get one final confrontation of Dennis, where SpongeBob says, "Ah, Dennis, did you miss me?" I'm like, wow, that's actually a really good comeback joke right there. So Dennis, SpongeBob, and Patrick have this one epic final battle where freaking Dennis grabs his knife and stabs David Hasselhoff either in the leg or the buttocks. I think it was his buttocks. And then David Hasselhoff was like, "Whoa, take it easy back there, guys." I'm like, that was pretty funny. And so they were about to go underneath I don't know, it's like a dock or something, either a dock or a boat or something. I'm guessing it's a dock. So they go underneath the dock, and David Hasselhoff freaking gets crushed by the dock, and that's how he died. That's literally how he dies in this film. And then Patrick's like, "See you later." I'm like, okay. And this is where things get really weird. So David Hasselhoff arrives at Bikini Atolls, takes SpongeBob and Patrick, and slaps him in his chest, and he was gonna... I don't even know how to describe this scene. This is so weird. But yeah, that happens. And they fly out of his chest, go underneath the Bikini Bottom, and they arrive safe and sound, right before Plankton was about to kill them. So SpongeBob then breaks into a singing number, singing Goofy Goober Rock, destroys all the bucket helmets, and everybody lives happily ever after, where Plankton gets thrown into jail, SpongeBob becomes manager of the Krusty Krab 2, and everybody lives happily ever after, and that was the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. I know I kind of rushed for the ending, but I don't want to make this video any longer. So yeah, childhood-wise, this actually was a pretty good movie in my opinion. A lot of people love this movie a lot. In fact, this is actually everybody's favorite Nickelodeon movie as a child, the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. And if I had to pick this over the second film, Sponge Out of Water, I still think the second film is better, but both films, SpongeBob Movie 1 and SpongeBob Movie 2, Sponge Out of Water, both have their flaws and their similarities. Well, not similarities. I meant to say their flaws and their highlights, basically. That's what I meant to say. So I have to rank the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, the first one. I'll probably give it a 7 out of 10. It's an okay film. I wouldn't say meh, it's because it's not that boring. I mean, there is some good things about the film, but I just give it a 7 out of 10. It's an okay movie. It's not the greatest thing out there, but it's pretty okay, in my opinion. So yeah, that's my review on the first SpongeBob movie. What are your thoughts about this film? And what film you think is better, the second movie, Sponge Out of Water, or the first movie, the SpongeBob SquarePants movie? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.
Hello everyone, this is Evie the Sponge Reviewer here with my review on the SpongeBob movie Sponge Out of Water, released on February 6, 2015 in theaters. So the synopsis of this movie is that a pirate by the name of Burgerbeard stumbles upon this magic book, which anything that he writes comes true. So he uses this book to steal the Krabby Patty secret formula, and it is up to SpongeBob, Plankton, and the rest of the Bikini Bottom gang to travel outside of Bikini Bottom into the real world to retrieve back the secret formula. So, I'm going to go ahead and move on with the criticism of this movie, and that is the CGI moments. Now, the reason why I put this as a criticism is that the movie was advertising a lot of those CGI moments, thinking that this entire movie was going to be taking place outside of Bikini Bottom, and that really isn't the case, is because that majority of the first and second act of this film is 2D animated. So the fact that majority of the CGI was being advertised in the commercials for this movie, it was thinking that this whole movie was going to be taking place outside of Bikini Bottom, but that really wasn't the case. So that gets points deducted, but that doesn't mean that this movie was bad in my opinion. Speaking about those CGI moments, I really do love the live action scenes. They were really entertaining. The characters' jump from 2D to 3D was absolutely phenomenal. The character designs were really good. The textures were nice. And yeah, the animation was really good as well. The live action scenes outside of Bikini Bottom were filmed in Tybee Island in Savannah, Georgia, which is actually a really cool fun fact because that I am a Georgia resident. I've never been to Tybee Island, but I am familiar with that beach down in Savannah. All right, so now moving on to some of my favorite highlight moments of the movie. Some of that will be SpongeBob and Plankton going to the chum bucket, trying to retrieve a key that Patrick stolen to take it away from him while they are trying to avoid getting caught by the Bikini Bottomies. Is because that ever since Mr. Krabs heard the news about SpongeBob and Plankton are teaming up, they decide to track him down. So that was some of the moments in the movie, some of my favorite moments. Another really funny moment that I really enjoyed was the opening scene of Burger Beard trying to steal the book from Bikini Atolls. He's like basically going through these booby traps. He fights off a skeleton. That was a really funny moment. There were these seagull characters in the movie, which I found okay, I guess. They weren't really all that great, but it was nice to see this live-action pirate interacting with these seagull characters. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and squeeze in one more highlight in the movie that I really enjoyed, and that is the characters' superpowers. Yes, the characters in the movie become superheroes. SpongeBob is the Invincible, Patrick is Mr. Super Awesomeness, Squidward is Sour Note, Mr. Krabs is Sir Pinch-a-Lot, Plankton is Plankton, and Sandy is the rodent. So I really do love all the characters becoming superheroes to stop to stop Burger Beard from stealing the Krabby Patty secret formula, in which they do. All right, so that's my review on Sponge Out of Water. It wasn't all that much because I wasn't going to go way into depth in it. So this is a pretty solid movie. It was a pretty good movie. I really enjoyed it, and I'll probably give this movie a 7 or an 8 out of 10. Pretty good movie, and yeah, it was actually better than the first SpongeBob movie in my opinion. All right, so that was my really quick review on the SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water. I know this movie is pretty old, but I wanted to review it anyways just because that I needed something to review for this channel now that I'm done with season 12. And yeah, those are pretty much all the SpongeBob reviews I'm going to do for this channel until season 13 comes along. Yes, you guys, I'm not going to review any older episodes. I'm not doing that. I'm only going to focus on the newer stuff. So until season 13 comes along, which I have no idea when, this channel will currently be dead at the moment. Well, not completely, it's because that I'm going to be doing live streams on this channel really soon, so be on the lookout for that, which I'll drop the channel update for that video in the description if you guys want to check that out. And yeah, so that's my review on Sponge Out of Water. What are your thoughts on the movie if you've seen it? Well, I'm sure a majority of you guys already seen the movie, but I still want to hear you guys' opinions on it, but whatever. All right, so that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time with more content. Hello, everyone. This is EB the Sponge Reviewer here with my in-depth review on SpongeBob SquarePants Sponge on the Run, or the SpongeBob movie Sponge on the Run, however you read it as. So you're probably asking, how was I able to see this movie if I'm not a Canadian? And I'm not from Canada. Well, of course, people filmed the movie on their cell phone cameras, and they uploaded the movie on YouTube, and because of that, they only filmed the top part of the screen. That was from my viewing of the movie. I saw a video where the person filmed the movie just from the top of the screen. They didn't really film the entire screen of the movie because I think copyright issues or something. I think they did that so they wouldn't get a copyright notice from Paramount Animations or Viacom, but that makes sense. So yeah, this is going to be my in-depth review of the movie. I'm going to review as much as I can, pointing out every bits of plot details and my overall thoughts on the film. So yeah, if you guys do not want to be spoiled, I highly suggest you click out this video because this video will contain spoilers. There will be a spoiler message in the title of the video, so it will be titled Sponge on the Run spoiler review. So if you don't want to be spoiled, please click out this video immediately. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started with the plot. So I'm going to run down the basic plot before I actually get to the actual plot of the movie. So yeah, SpongeBob and Patrick goes on this adventure to Atlantic City to rescue Gary from King Poseidon. So yeah, that's your over-the-mill basic plot of Sponge on the Run. So now I'm going to go ahead and review the movie in depth. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so the opening of the movie is pretty straightforward. You got a narration of the French narrator talking about Bikini Bottom and all the inhabitants of Bikini Bottom, such as SpongeBob, Patrick. Patrick actually walked out of Goofy Goobers. Goofy Goobers made a cameo in this movie, a callback to the first movie, which was pretty interesting. Then we got this montage of SpongeBob and Gary having fun, I guess. So you got a montage of SpongeBob hanging out with Gary, his pet snail. Pretty good montage. Oh, by the way, this whole movie is 3D animated. This is a 3D animated movie, the animation is pretty good. So, yeah, and then we got this scene of SpongeBob and Patrick waking up in the morning, saying, "Good morning, SpongeBob, good morning, Patrick," ignoring the crap out of Squidward. I found that joke to be really funny. It didn't drag too long, but it was a pretty funny joke in my opinion. Sandy is in this movie. Yay, Sandy. She has this robot character named Otto, who is this automatic robot who fires people. So Sandy takes Otto to the Krusty Krab where SpongeBob is doing his job. So SpongeBob is doing his job at the Krusty Krab. There's like different clones of SpongeBob. Kind of reminds me of Boss for a Day, the episode that came out last month in the United States. That's what the scene reminded me of the different clone SpongeBob doing all these jobs and stuff. It reminded me of Boss for a Day, Clone Bob, Didu Pants, Gullible Pants, whatever. So yeah, Sandy comes in with Otto, talks to Mr. Krabs about him, and then, so Mr. Krabs gets annoyed from Otto and throws him into a freaking dumpster, I guess. And then Plankton is doing his usual theme. He's out to steal the Krab Patty Secret Mill. There's no reason why he's doing it. It doesn't tie into the plot, but he's just doing it just for the sake of doing it. And then that's where we get to King Poseidon. So yeah, King Poseidon is in his castle in Atlantic City, which is portrayed as a casino, which is actually pretty interesting. And we got him admiring these snails that he's got. And then he ends up sending out these flyers telling these people, "Hey, I need for you to get these snails." So Plankton reads about it, kidnaps Gary, and takes him to King Poseidon, I guess. I think Plankton must have kidnapped Gary, or he probably... No, he didn't. King Poseidon kidnapped Gary. Either Plankton saw the flyer about King Poseidon needing snails, and I think King Poseidon must have kidnapped Gary off screen, because we don't see a scene of him doing it. I guess for pacing. Yeah, so I think that's probably what they did it for. I'm sorry if this review is all over the place, but I don't care. So SpongeBob comes home from work, notices that Gary is missing. He goes into an all-caps rage. He starts screaming and hollering, and that's where we cut to a flashback of SpongeBob at Camp Coral, where he meets Gary for the first time. He's a kid. That's where we got the kid voice actors voicing the young SpongeBob characters, which they did a pretty good job with. And that's where Patrick comes in, finds out that Gary is missing, so they both go on an adventure to rescue him. So Otto, Sandy's robot, comes in a boatmobile, and then SpongeBob and Patrick drives Otto all throughout the Bikini Bottom to find Gary. That's where they found themselves in a desert. They're out in the desert, and that's where we meet up with Keanu Reeves, who plays as a Tumbleweed character named Sage. His character was pretty funny. He plays a big role in the movie. I'm not familiar with Keanu Reeves because I'm not a celebrity guy. I don't know a lot of celebrities, but I don't know what movies this guy appeared in, and I really don't care because I'm not really into movies all that much. So don't get all upset if I'm not familiar with this actor, because I'm just not a big celebrity person. I'm not that big familiar with celebrities. So yeah, he plays as a Sage character who gives advices to SpongeBob on his journey to save Gary. There's this really, really funny scene in the movie where Snoop Dogg, the guy who sings "Smoke Weed Every Day," yeah, you know that Snoop Dogg. Yeah, he's in the movie. He's in this Western Gulch who performs this musical number. I freaking died with laughter when I first saw Snoop Dogg, because it was just random. He just comes out of nowhere, just starts singing this song in a desert town filled with cowboy zombies, and it was pretty funny. Really funny scene. I wish the cameraman filmed the scene, but I guess they did that for copyright problems, but whatever. Maybe a better version of the movie comes out anytime soon. But yeah, so yeah, with that said and done, SpongeBob and Patrick leaves out of the desert ghost town place, and that's where they actually arrived at King Poseidon's Atlantic City place. Yeah, this movie wastes no time with the pacing. This is a big adventure, but they've only went through one pit stop, which was this desert zombie cowboy town, and they already arrived at King Poseidon's Atlantic City place. So kudos to the pacing, because the first movie had a lot of scenes like SpongeBob and Patrick going to the Tug Thug where they had to prove themselves that they're not kids. There's that scene where they're playing with the soap dispenser. It actually felt like a really big adventure, while in Sponge on the Run, they waste no time with filler scenes and then they just cut straight to the case. So that's one thing that I like about this movie. So when SpongeBob and Patrick arrives at Atlantic City, they basically gamble a lot at the casinos. They gamble a lot. They completely forgot what they were doing. They completely forgot about the whole mission about saving Gary. There's a scene called the Meanwhile window where SpongeBob and Patrick sees through the window where they see King Poseidon torturing Gary. SpongeBob and Patrick talks through the Meanwhile window where Karina Weaves, the Sage character, tells them that it's not like video on demand or like a chatting service or something. Lots of freaking pop culture, modern day technology jokes in this movie, which I really didn't mind all that much. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and cut straight to the ending. So Mr. Krabs, Sandy, and Squidward and Plankton, they don't know where SpongeBob's at. They see a news report that he's at King Poseidon's Atlantic City. They go out to rescue him and Gary, and so they do that. There's this really cool singing number in the movie called "The Secret Formula Is You" or something like that. That's the name of the song. It's actually a really good song. I really do love that song. There's actually another good moment in the movie where SpongeBob's friends, Sandy, Mr. Krabs, and Squidward and Patrick tells King Poseidon how much of a good friend SpongeBob is by talking about the times at Camp Coral. So we got another Camp Coral flashback scene of how the characters met. It's a really good scene. It's a really, really good scene. I really do love it. It's comical. It's emotional. It's very good. It's really, really good. And so basically they run out of King Poseidon's Atlantic City place, and then King Poseidon himself sends his army to attack SpongeBob and his friends. Well, they're not to attack them. They just basically chase them to stop them from getting away with Gary. There's this really funny scene where they were inside of a night and they were trying to attack. They're basically fighting off the guards inside this night, which is actually a really interesting scene in a SpongeBob movie, and it's never been tackled this before. I really do love the creativity this movie has as a love letter to Steven Hillenburg, who had sadly passed away in 2018. So the movie ends with SpongeBob and his friends taking all the snails that King Poseidon has taken away to give them to all the people in Bikini Bottom, and that's how the movie ends. And yeah, that's the SpongeBob movie, Sponge on the Run. Really good movie. It's a very good movie. I really enjoyed it. The animation is great. I love the 3D computer animation. It's really good. The attention to details is on point. The characters were likable. The songs were pretty good. Yeah, this movie, out of all the 3 SpongeBob movies, I might have to put this at number 1. This is actually a lot better than the other films. And in terms of pacing, this is the best one. So if I have to rank the SpongeBob movies from best to worst, I'll put Sponge on the Run at number 1. I'll put Sponge Out of Water at number 2. And third place will be this first SpongeBob movie, the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. Now, these are just my opinions because this is my ratings of the SpongeBob movie in terms of visuals and in terms of pacing and story. Yeah, the second movie was good, but the advertising was bad because the characters didn't leave the surface until the very ending of the movie over the fact that they were advertising the crap out of it with the 3D animation segments of the movie, even though that really wasn't the main focus. It was basically SpongeBob and Plankton teaming up to go time traveling to figure out who took the Krabby Patty secret formula. And I'm glad that this wasn't the plot in the third movie. And in fact, the third movie's plot is very similar to the first movie's plot in terms of similarities, like King Poseidon, like King Neptune, SpongeBob and Patrick going on a buddy duo, same like in the first movie. And yeah, there's a lot of elements from the first movie that were in the third movie, which is actually pretty interesting. But the third movie handled it a bit better, in my opinion. So yeah, that's my review on the SpongeBob movie, Sponge on the Run. I'll drop the link of the movie in the description below of parts 1 and 2. Yeah, so they basically uploaded the movie in 2 parts. And yeah, so that's my review on the movie. Sorry if it wasn't all in depth, but I did the best I can with this review. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys later, I guess, if new episodes comes out. In the United States. But with that said, I'm done here. Goodbye.
Everyone, this is Evie the Sponge Reviewer here, and welcome to my first official SpongeBob review for the year 2024. And I'd like to give a huge shout out to my good friend Luke V for this video. Is because that it turns out that Saving Bikini Bottom has been leaked. Yes, it was a huge surprise to hear that the movie has been leaked, and Luke actually sent the video onto a Discord server that I'm in, and I watched the movie in its entirety. And I'm here to give you guys a small little mini review of the movie without spoiling too much, but I will be pointing out some highlights or some of my favorite moments of the movie without going into spoiler territory. So, Saving Bikini Bottom is the Sandy Cheek spinoff movie that was supposed to come out on Netflix earlier this year. The movie has been leaked, but I don't think there has been like an official release date yet, but the movie has been leaked. And already, I'm going to tell you guys right now that this movie, in my opinion, is better than Sponge on the Run. This movie is a huge improvement from Sponge on the Run, and it actually takes some liberties to come up with unique ideas and to give characters unique backstories and whatnot. And so, yeah. So, first off, let's talk about the animation. So the animation in this movie is similar to Sponge on the Run. It is a 3D animated movie. It's the same stylized stop motion style 3D animation without it being stop motion, meaning that the frame rate of the animation is a little lower than usual. So the animation is already a 10 out of 10 in this movie. It's the same 3D animation used on Sponge on the Run, which was pretty unique. And this is another live-action animated hybrid movie where the villain in this movie is a live-action character. So basically the plot of this movie is that Sandy and SpongeBob must save Bikini Bottom when a threat from above the ocean takes Bikini Bottom into the heart of Texas, where the villain's headquarters is at. So basically, Sandy is actually a part of this lab association by the name of Boots. It's actually an acronym, and I'm not going to tell you what each of the letter of the acronym is, just because that would be going to spoiler territory, and I have already forgot what it was. So all I'm going to say is that the acronym for this lab that Sandy works for is called Boots, and it's actually this water park. It's basically a lab for a water park, basically, and the lab assistants had came to Bikini Bottom and took everything from the city. So so everything comes out from the waters and it gets taken to Texas. I think it's called Glenville, Texas, or something. I've already forgot the name of the city, but it starts with a G. It's some city in Texas that starts with a G that I already forgot the name. I mean, I already knew what the name was, but I'm probably butchering the name of it. But anyways, and so it is up to SpongeBob and Sandy to go to Texas to save Bikini Bottom and to get to the bottom of the mess of what's going on. So here are some of the highlights of the movie that I really enjoyed from this picture. First of all, this movie is well paced. The pacing in this movie is a lot better than Sponge on the Run. And I will have to agree with everyone's criticisms with Sponge on the Run, especially the part where SpongeBob and Patrick drives into a desert, and then they see Karina Reeves, which is the character who plays Sage in the Tumbleweed. That part of the movie drew the most criticism because it was mostly filler and didn't develop any of the characters or serve purpose to the story. And now that I think about it, I can somewhat agree of those folks is because that now that I think about it, when I saw this movie again for a second time, because the second time I saw this movie was on a voice chat session, and now that I think about it, I can see why people aren't a fan of that scene, and I can somewhat agree with them that it kind of does feel like filler, even though I somewhat enjoyed that scene when I first watched the movie. But now thinking about it again, I can see why that scene felt filler to most people, and I can understand the reasoning. But on Saving Bikini Bottom, this movie doesn't have any of that because it actually feels like an actual movie. It actually feels like the characters are going on a journey to save Bikini Bottom, and it actually feels a lot longer too. So yeah, another highlight of the movie is Sandy's family. So yeah, so Sandy's family is in this movie. We get to see Sandy's dad, her mom, her grandmother, and for the first time in the series, Randy Cheeks, which is Sandy's twin brother. If you guys didn't remember the episode Rodeo Days, Sandy mentioned that she had a twin brother named Randy, and the SpongeBob team actually finally brought him into the series, and that was pretty cool. And we also see Sandy's niece and nephew, but it's not the nieces from Sandy's Nutty Nieces. It's not Pistachio, Macadamia, and Hazelnut. It's not those nieces. Instead, it's another two group of kid squirrel characters, which I believe are her other nieces. I'm pretty sure those are her nieces and nephews, but it's not Rose. It's not Macadamia, Hazelnut, and Pistachio, but it's another niece of hers and her grandmother. And what's really cool about Sandy's family in this movie is that they're actually part of a circus. Yeah, that's another interesting part of this movie is that Sandy's family all relates to a circus, which is really cool because even though that Sandy's family are from Texas, I would have thought they would have went, oh, they're like Texian. I mean they like to ride on bulls and lasso stuff like that. But no, they went with a completely different route where Sandy was actually a part of a circus. And I know that's kind of like retconning or something. I mean, I really can't call it retconning. It's because I don't think we've ever dove deep into her that trait before of her character. But I really do like the idea of Sandy's family being circus performers, and that was really cool to see. And another cool thing about this movie is that they actually gave Sandy a new trait where she can actually glide like a flying squirrel. That was another interesting trait that they did with this movie. And this is exactly why I'm so happy that SpongeBob is still continuing. It's because they're coming up with these unique ideas for these characters that we've may have never seen before in the series, and that's why I love the fact that the show is still continuing, so they can evolve on the show and come up with these crazy, unique ideas for the characters to deal with. And then people over here saying, "Oh, the show should have just ended after the first movie," and I'm like, I'm sorry, you guys, that first SpongeBob movie is so overrated. It is because I don't know why people. I mean, I'm sorry to ruin your childhoods and whatnot, but can we all agree that the first movie is overrated? Because it is at this point. Because honestly, it doesn't even feel like a proper series finale to begin with. Because first of all, Sandy was barely used in that movie. All she says is two lines, and I mean, yeah, it is a good movie, but I wouldn't say it's my favorite SpongeBob movie. But either way, I'm going way ahead of myself. But yeah. Another interesting new character that I really liked about this movie are these rattlesnake characters. That was a really unique thing about the movie. Are they introduced these CGI rattlesnake characters, which were pretty fun to witness. And the villain, her name is Tsunami. Yeah, I won't tell her motive. I mean, I will tell her motivation, but I'm not gonna actually talk about like the climax or anything that happens at the end of the movie. But basically, the reason why Sandy's lab facility named Boots kidnapped Bikini Bottom is to basically make profit
out of them for a water part. So basically, she explains to her lab subjects that they were basically gonna turn SpongeBob's friends into like these merchandise toys to sell at this water park, and that was her big motivation. And already, this plot is way better than freaking Sponge on the Run, where that plot was, oh, we got to rescue Gary from King Poseidon. And yes, yeah, and basically, Sponge on the Run was basically a diet version of the first SpongeBob movie, where it was just SpongeBob and Patrick um, going on this road trip to save Gary, while on Saving Bikini Bottom, it does have a similar premise, but this time it's with SpongeBob and Sandy, which is really unique. And yeah, so it does have a very similar character pairing, where there's actually two sets of characters, where it's SpongeBob and Sandy this time, and not Patrick tag along. So that's another interesting thing. While in Sponge Out of Water, it was SpongeBob and Plankton teaming up in that movie. So yeah, that's actually really cool to see that all these four movies had SpongeBob teaming up with someone. The first movie being with Patrick, the second movie being with Plankton, and the third one being with Patrick again. And now in this fourth movie, which is the Sandy Cheeks movie, it's him with Sandy. So overall, this movie was fun. I really enjoyed this movie. I enjoyed this movie way more than Sponge on the Run. The story is a lot better. It actually felt like the pacing was a lot decent because it actually felt like they were going on an adventure, unlike with Sponge on the Run, where they just went to that desert location and then they immediately arrived at Shell City. Like, I mean Atlantic City. I'm sorry, Atlantic City, which is this casino place. But yeah, so that's my review. That's my little mini review on Saving Bikini Bottom and Sandy Cheeks movie. Um, yeah, the movie has been leaked out there, and yeah, so I probably won't share a link to this movie just because I've already told you guys that I don't share links. So you're just gonna have to wait for the movie to come out on Netflix. That's all I can say because that's all I'm gonna say with that. So you guys can wait for the movie. So yeah, so thank you all for watching this review, and I will see you guys next time with more SpongeBob reviews once an actual episode comes out on Nickelodeon. So goodbye, everyone. Hello, everyone. This is EB the Sponge Reviewer here, and I just got done watching the leaked Plankton movie, which was supposed to come out on Netflix in 2025. And I'm here to give you guys a spoiler-free review of the movie and to tell you guys my overall thoughts of it. So, right off the bat, I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. This is probably my favorite spin-off movie that we had, along with the Sandy Cheeks movie. Honestly, I actually prefer this movie more than the Sandy Cheeks movie for many good reasons, and I'm going to explain it to what you guys in this video, of course. So, the overall plot of this movie centers around Plankton and Karen's relationship, and the way how they handled it was pretty cool and interesting, and I really liked the plot of this movie a lot. So basically, Plankton goal is to have world domination, along with Karen, basically, and so what happens in the movie is that because Plankton's world domination turns out to be a complete flop of in the movie, he basically goes back to the Chum Bucket to realize that Karen had made a makeover of the Chum Bucket, and Plankton becomes very upset about it, and he just starts destroying the Chum Bucket because of Karen's idea, and this basically makes Karen go into a rage. She becomes this giant mech. Yes, Karen is the villain of this movie, and that's a huge step up from Saving Bikini Bottom, where Tsunami was the villain of that movie. And if I were to be totally honest, I prefer this movie way more than the Sandy Cheeks movie, even if I haven't pointed out obviously in the beginning of this review. But Karen as the villain was really interesting. It's because that I really liked her design of her mech. Basically what her mech was, it was basically three different personality chips that Plankton included into Karen, because not only this movie dials into Plankton's and Karen's relationship, this plot also dives back into their backstory to get to the bottom of why Plankton and Karen were feuding, and in order to stop Karen's wrath is to basically go back through their past to see um, what happened and how Plankton and Karen got to meet in the first place. And my good friend Demeet did a review on this movie on Monday, and he talked about the fact that it retconned the plot of Friend or Foe. And I want to be totally honest with you guys. I am aware of Friend or Foe, but I don't have any recollections of watching that special before in the past. I am aware of it, but I mean, if I would be totally honest, I have a really foggy memory, so I don't really remember myself watching that episode back in like middle school or something like that, because I wasn't even watching all that much TV when I was in middle school anyways. So I probably would have not watched the episode, but because this is a Plankton movie, they kind of retcon the whole friend or foe thing, how Plankton and Mr. Krabs met, and because of their rivalry and all that stuff. But yeah, so another highlight of this movie is the return of the Gal Pals from Girls' Night Out, which consists of SpongeBob. Well, I'm sorry, not SpongeBob. Gary. What am I doing? Why am I freaking this up? Mrs. Puff, Pearl, Sandy, and Karen, basically. Yeah, so those are the Gal Pals, and they play a role in this movie. It was really cool seeing them, I guess. We also get to see the appearance of Rube for the first time in the spin-off movies. Yeah, this is actually Rube's first appearance in the SpongeBob movies, and it was really cool seeing him in the movie. And I really like the animation styles that they went with this movie. They tackled through different animation styles, mostly being 2D. And just like with the other SpongeBob movies, this is a musical, and all the songs in this movie were pretty catchy. I really did enjoy the songs in this movie, especially Karen's song, her villain song. I thought that was a really cool song as well. And this movie does have live action, but not to the extent as Sponge on the Run and the Saving Bikini Bottom Sandy Cheeks movie. The live action segments actually reminded me of Sponge Out of Water, where it was mostly like done like towards the end of the movie and like through a climax sequence. But yeah, and the human characters didn't have any speaking roles, so that was a plus. And if they do tackle more live action in these movies, I want them to handle it like they did with Sponge Out of Water and the Plankton movie, where the villain isn't like a live action character. Is because that I think SpongeBob is better off having villains based off of an existing character, or they come up with an original new character. And I think that's what I want them to do for these future SpongeBob movies, to have the villains either be an existing character or they just come up with a new character that is like animated and stuff like that. So overall, those are my final thoughts of the Plankton movie. I'm not going to go into any further details just because that I don't want to spoil too much of the movie. But yes, I really enjoyed this movie way more than Saving Bikini Bottom. In fact, this movie is my favorite of the two spin-off movies that we got. So let the Plankton movie be the Patrick Star show of the spin-off movies, just because I preferred this movie way more than the Sandy movie. I really enjoyed the story. The Karen being the villain was a breath of fresh air, and I really liked what they did with her character in this movie. It was really cool seeing all of the other characters being involved with the story. And honestly, I get people's nostalgia for the first movie, but the reason why I like the sequels better is because we get to see the characters do more in the movies, and that's what was lacking in the first movie. It's that the characters didn't have much to do, and I think that was my biggest problem with the movie. And I understand that's not what the goal of the first movie was, but that's why I kind of like the sequels better, because the characters get to do more, and we get to see them interact with the character with one another, and that's really cool. And that's what I like about the sequels more than the first movie, is that the characters get to do stuff, unlike with the first movie where all Sandy did was just said, "Well, I paid 10," and she's going "yeehaw" at the end of the first movie, and that was really about it. But that's the first movie, and that's all I can say about it. So yeah, that is my review on the Plankton movie. Pretty freaking good movie. It was awesome. I really enjoyed this movie, and it was better than Save a Bikini Bottom, in my opinion. All right, so that is my review. Thank you all for watching. If you guys would like to see the movie for yourself, it's leaked on Twitter somewhere. You're just gonna have to find it yourself because I'm not gonna post it because it's leaked, obviously, and I don't post links to these episodes or movies because I don't. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys next time with more SpongeBob reviews. Hello, everyone. This is EB the Sponge Reviewer here, and today I'm here to give you guys a small mini review on the brand new SpongeBob SquarePants movie that just launched into theaters today. Uh, the Search for SquarePants. So yeah, I just got back from the movies not too long ago, and I did see this film. And I will give you guys a small little mini review of this movie and to tell you guys my overall thoughts of the film. So yeah, this is the fourth theatrical SpongeBob SquarePants movie. This is actually the first SpongeBob movie to be released in theaters in over a decade since Sponge Out of Water. Because if you guys are aware already that Sponge on the Run, it never came to theaters because of COVID. So this is the first SpongeBob movie in over a decade to come out in theaters. And interesting enough, this is actually my first SpongeBob movie to see in theaters. Yes, I haven't seen the Sponge Out of Water film in theaters. I saw that movie, I believe, through a bootleg movie website when I first saw it, and I don't remember seeing the first movie in theaters because I was very young at the time. But I do own the movie on DVD. But yeah, so let's go ahead and talk about what this movie is about. So yeah, the main premise of this movie is about SpongeBob proving Mr. Krabs that he could be a big guy, like a tough guy, when he grows. I think he grows 36 clams high, I believe, because that is the storyline of this movie. And so SpongeBob grows an inch taller, so he could go ride this roller coaster. And when he gets to the roller coaster, he realizes that it's very big and scary, so he freaks out about it. And so he does want to prove Mr. Krabs that he is a tough guy. Where Mr. Krabs then tells a story about his Navy days, where he actually became a swashbuckler, and he shows SpongeBob his swashbuckler certificate, and this is where SpongeBob and Patrick decides to prove Mr. Krabs that SpongeBob is a big guy by going on this journey with the Flying Dutchman to the underworld, which is this deeper part of Bikini Bottom where the Flying Dutchman resides. And he actually has a first mate by the name of Barb, who is this female character. She's really the only new character in this movie, while the other characters are returning characters like the Flying Dutchman, SpongeBob, Patrick, Mr. Krabs, Squidward, all those characters. And yeah, so that's all I'll talk. That's your overall description of the movie without going into spoilers. Now, yeah, so I actually really enjoyed this movie. I thought this movie was pretty fun. I really did enjoy the story. The story kind of felt like a mix between the first movie, where in that one it's about Mr. Krabs not putting up SpongeBob as a manager because he thinks he's a baby and he thinks he's a kid. So that's and the story of this movie is also very similar to that first movie where SpongeBob wants to prove Mr. Krabs that he is a tough guy. So it does borrow elements from that first movie. Speaking about elements from the first movie, along with that, we get to see Mr. Krabs, Squidward, and Gary going on their own adventure to save SpongeBob from the underworld because there is another storyline to this movie where the Flying Dutchman takes SpongeBob to the underworld to do these challenges so he could break the curse, the Flying Dutchman's curse. And that's all I'll say about it because there is a MacGuffin in this movie that I won't talk about because that'll go into spoiler details, so I won't talk about the main MacGuffin of this movie, but it is similar to Neptune's Crown from the first movie and the book from the second movie, Sponge Out of Water. But yes, this movie does have its own MacGuffin that I won't talk about because, again, that will go into spoilers, so I won't talk about it here. And I really did like the MacGuffin that they had in mind for this movie. And yeah, so overall, I really enjoyed this movie. This was a fun watch. This movie does have live action segments, but it is handled very similar to the Plankton movie, where the live action segments aren't used throughout the entire movie, but it's only used for like the climax part of the movie. So that is something that I will give the movie credit. So it is very similar to like the first movie, where that movie was mostly animated, but the live action stuff didn't happen until like the middle portion of the movie where the big climax takes place. So this movie handled the live action scenes very similar to the Plankton movie and the first SpongeBob movie. Unlike Sponge Out of Water, where that movie mostly had live action and animation for like a good chunk of its runtime. But I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. But I just wanted to point out that that the live action segments in this movie is handled very similar to the Plankton movie and the first movie. So that's all I'll add. Um, And yeah, so yeah, the other characters like Sandy, Sandy's also in this movie, and she's in the back seat this time because I think because they already utilized her a lot in Sponge Out of Water, Sponge on the Run, and the Sandy Cheeks movie and the Plankton movie. They decided to reduce her role very similar to the first movie, but I'm not complaining about it too much because she had already done a lot in the other sequel films. I didn't mind them not using her in this movie because it was already interesting enough seeing Mr. Krabs, Squidward, and Gary teaming up. That's actually a really interesting set of characters that they dappled with. And yeah, so overall, Search for SquarePants. This was a fun movie. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, so that's really all I have to say with the movie. So, what are your thoughts of Search for SquarePants? If you've seen the movie today, do let me know in the comments. And if you're planning on seeing it in the future, that will be cool. So we can all form a discussion about this movie. And yeah, so that is my review on Search for SquarePants. And this will also be the final SpongeBob review for 2025. So yeah, thank you all for watching. And I will see you guys next year in 2026 with more SpongeBob reviews. So goodbye, everyone.